Hi everyone, Tyrone and Tina here, and we're with Keller Williams, East Bay. We're located in Northern California, particularly in the Bay Area, and we're a husband and wife team, and we're going to be talking to you about our real estate journey.
Yeah. Our team name is Campbell House Realty Group.
Yes.
So, in our first video, we do an introduction to ourselves and kind of how we got into real estate. And in this video, we thought it would be fitting to kind of go over, once we got in, how we...
What's next?
Yeah, like basically what happened next. And for us, this is really just a part 2 to the first video, just to give an introduction to ourselves. And honestly, for us, we definitely failed forward. And what that means is that we failed when we first got into real estate. It did not go as smoothly as we would have hoped for. And looking back, I think it's probably a lot of people's journey, and it wasn't just ours, right? I think a lot of people tend to fail. And in fact, you probably fail multiple times in your career. And as long as you just get back up and figure out a different way to do it.
That's where the growth is. And fortunate for us that we realized that and we kept pushing forward, and we're still here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, in the last video, we kind of left off saying that like Tyrone had joined in and we started this husband and wife team, and we started in September. And again, to take one step back, when I left the previous brokerage, I did leave with some clients, right? So there were some people in my sphere that were thinking about buying or selling. And so it wasn't like, let's say if you're a brand new agent and you don't have anybody that you know, some brand new agents might know somebody that's looking to buy or sell, and some might have absolutely nobody that they know. And then the process of how you close your first deal can take a few months from there, right? When you're first starting out. So for us, going into the new brokerage, and then the other difference for us is that because I was part of another team and because it was a very successful team, I was already closing deals. I had closed, I think we had done, I think we had done about 45 deals in the 2.5 years that I was with the other brokerage. And so I had some good experience, you know, working transactions. So when I came on, Keller Williams does have a program that when you're a new agent, you're actually assigned a mentor, so that your first 3 transactions, somebody is helping you with those transactions, right? So both Tyrone and I are mentors at our brokerage, and also Tyrone's actually also a productivity coach. So he also helps people with their production levels. And so when we first came on, we were not put in that program because I had that experience, right? I already knew how to close those deals, and I didn't feel like I needed that initial help. And so we did. As soon as we came on, we were closing deals within like a month or 2. Like we started closing some deals in that first year, in the first 6 months, because I joined in June. From June to the end of the year, we closed 5 our first year. But we have to say that everybody on those first 5 were people that we knew, and it was people in our sphere. It was friends or family and things like that. And so, you know, within a few months, we realized we can't just sell houses to people we know.
It would be nice, but you know.
That list, you know, is
dry after a while.
Absolutely. And so you've got to start meeting new people, and you got to put yourself out there, and things like that. So what ended up happening in September is that when Tyrone joined on, we both actually went through a phase, and I don't know if anybody else has ever like left a job, especially if you've been working for years on end, right? Tyrone had gone through a long spurt of working, you know, full-time, and not just 40 hours a week, but more than 40 hours a week for a really long period, never really taking a sabbatical. That when he first like left that job, he basically was exhausted. And so he was, you know, staying home and sleeping in and just kind of like on vacation. And then guess what I did as a spouse? I joined him in that process, right? I started doing the same thing. We were like Netflixing and just, you know, hanging out and not doing, yeah, you know, and it was hard. Like we weren't getting up and going to work, especially when you have your own business and there's nobody calling you, checking in on you. You're running your own business. You know, you don't have any of that happening in the background. And so, and on top of that, you're kind of tired and exhausted from the job that you left. You just hang out, you know. So we definitely did that, I would say, for all of September. And then in October, I remember we had a conversation where we're like, okay, we can't just keep doing this. We're gonna be in trouble,
especially knowing that, you know, in real estate, since we are commission based, we're not going to get paid until at the end of the transaction, right? So, basically the transactions that we had already going, those were going to close, and then what, right? So we needed to make sure that we got back on the horse and start to go out there and find where our next piece of business is going to come from.
Yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind is that in real estate, our business cycle is generally at least 3 months. So if we are not working in October, that means we are not going to have a closing in January, right? So we're looking at October, November, December, that fourth quarter. If we're not working and meeting new people and figuring out, like, lining up that business, there's going to be no closing come towards the end of December, January, and February. And that is exactly what happened, because we did not work, because we did have closing. Like I said, we had 5 closings from June to December of that year. So we were coasting, right? It wasn't like...
But we wasn't actively lead generating.
Yeah. So we weren't looking for
new business.
We had not yet understood what happens in a few months. Like, that had, honestly, like, I know people talk about it, and I think for me especially, like, it didn't sink in that what are we going to do in 3 months and 4 months. And so we went through that winter basically, and kind of went through our transactions and coasted through them. And come January, we had to have a really tough conversation. And I remember this because now we have no prospects, we have no money that's coming in, and we have no prospects of money that's coming in, right? We don't know where the next check is going to close.
We still had a mortgage payment. We still had to put food on the table.
Yeah, we have a small child, who has childcare, and childcare is very expensive, and so we still had all of those costs. And it's not like we took him out of childcare and kept him at home, because then we wouldn't be able to work anyway. So all of those things, and we didn't want this to affect our lifestyle. We wanted to be able to make enough money in the profession that we enjoy, but then at the same time live the lifestyle we want to live, right? And so that January, Tyrone and I had a very tough conversation where it was, and also for anybody else that's doing this out there, like, if you have a significant other, when your business suffers, your marriage is going to start suffering as well, especially like for us working together. And this is when I started Googling spouses that work together, how do husband and wife teams make it work and things like that. Because what ended up happening is that we started fighting right now, and you start pointing fingers, and it's very natural to start doing that when things start going wrong, right? Like when you don't have funds coming in, and we started saying like, well, did you go do that? And did you go do that? And things like that, right? And that wasn't productive. And it was just causing stress on our marriage. It was causing stress, on our finances, on our household. And so at that point, I remember in January, we sat down and had a conversation, and we were like, okay, we are not going to let this break us. Like, more important than our business is our marriage and our family. That
Absolutely.
100% comes first. So if we can't work together, then we just can't work together, right? Mm-hmm. Like, maybe this is not the right profession for us. Like, we were having that whole conversation where we were doubting ourselves on, can we really make this work? And at one point, I remember Tyrone even said, let's give this 6 months. Let's give this 6 months. We looked at our savings. We had 6 months to float ourselves. And he was like, if not, I will go back to my previous job. I can go back to them and see if I can get that position or get some other position and get some, get filled in somewhere. And he left on good terms. So there was a possibility that if he wanted to go back, there could be some opportunity there. And if not with that company, I'm sure there would have been one with another company, right? So, so that's what we kind of did. And I think for me,
and I made up my mind when I left that, failure isn't an option, and I wasn't going back into the retail industry, mainly because it takes a lot of time, and it's stressful, and that was the main reason why I left. And I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family and my son, right? So,
well, I mean, even our jobs, our current jobs are stressful, and they take a lot of time. Yeah. So I feel
it's
like
stressful and it takes a lot of time, but we're able to spend time together, right?
Yeah.
And it's a different type of stress, right? The stress that we have here is based on our own production, what we put in, right? It's not tied to how someone else is, functioning, how their production is, right? So it's directly tied to my own efforts.
Yeah, that's true. So, the other thing is that I remember one of the things Tyrone did not enjoy about his last job or last profession was that I think there was a lack of fulfillment there, right? It wasn't like, I mean, and Tyrone, like in the last few years before, this is totally sidetracking, but before he left that profession, he actually kept getting switched into different departments or different roles, right? Because he was trying to figure out, like, he wasn't happy. So he kept trying to switch to find happiness somewhere, right? And it wasn't necessarily the money. It was, I don't think there was an actual fulfillment with the job itself. And there was a little bit of a divide. And you can, like, when you need the money, you're like, you know what, whatever, it doesn't really matter. A job is a job is a job. Long as I'm getting paid, I'll make it work. And I think that for us at some point, because we know we can work and we can make decent money, like, it goes above that. Like, then you take it to that next level of, okay, not only can I get paid, and you want to have some sort of purpose in your life. And I think it definitely, that was missing from the last one. And then here he's, you've been able to kind of find that. We've both been able to find that here with real estate. But anyway.
So shifting back, we realized that we needed to do something fast in order to make sure that, we're able to stay in this industry.
Yeah. So that was, I remember, like, our commitment to ourselves that, okay, we are going to give ourselves 6 months. We are either going to prove to ourselves we can do this, or we are going to go ahead and Tyrone's going to go back to his previous job.
Not an option.
He's saying it's not an option, but he did tell me at the time he was willing to do it. So I did appreciate that.
Yes, I have to tell you a lot of things in order to, keep you comfortable over there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sounds good. So that's like an awkward laugh right here. We're having to talk about this later.
Wait, okay.
But so I think that what it did do, even for me, like when he said that, what it did do for me was it made me realize, like, man, my husband is willing to, like, go work somewhere where he's not happy, just so we can have food on the table, right? Which is obviously why I love him, why I married him. I wanted somebody that, has that type of mentality and is that dedicated to the family. But also it makes me then look at myself and say, am I doing everything I can to make sure that I'm not putting him in that position? And that was an eye-opener, I think, because prior to that, I feel like both of us were kind of fighting with each other and kind of almost like there was definitely some, in a very respectful way, but there was a little bit of blaming on, like, well, did you do this or did you do this or what were you doing these few hours type of thing. And then I think that helped us kind of be like, am I doing everything I can to make sure that this business is moving along, right? And both of us took on that accountability, and that was a big shift, because when you start working that way, and this is, whether you work with your spouse or whether, this is a huge tip, whether you work with your spouse or you work with anybody, if you are gonna be working in some sort of a team, it's easy to say, oh, you're not doing X, Y, and Z. But if you can then turn around and look at your own production and say, okay, am I doing everything? Am I showing up 100% every day? And if you're not, you then can't blame anybody else for not doing the exact same thing.
Focus on yourself and your own actions first.
Yeah.
And I think a turning point for us was a lender that we met and we grew a great relationship with. He recommended the book Take the Stairs, So around that time we started to read Take the Stairs, and everything just started to click for us. We realized what we needed to do, and we knew that what we needed to do, it wasn't going to be easy, right? It wasn't going to be easy, but it's something that needs to be done in order for us to be successful. And we had to answer a very important question, do we want to be successful in this business?
Yeah, or in anything in life, right? So the book kind of goes over, it does a breakdown. We read it together as a couple. So we would, every night before going to bed, we would read a chapter together and then have a discussion about that chapter, like what did that trigger for you? How does that make you feel? Type of thing, right? And that was important for us, like as a team building exercise, because I think it helped us grow our business together. And honestly, I would say that it also helped our marriage. It helped us bond more together. It actually forced us, because the book does talk about not only business wise, but it also talks about like being healthy. It also talks about like, if your relationship is in turmoil, if your family is in turmoil, it's really hard to focus on the business. Right? So you want to make sure that you you come to peace with your relationships in your life, right? That there is an understanding in those relationships. And for us, even more so, because again, they're all together. Like, we can't escape each other and go to work separately. We work together and then we come home to the same thing, right? And so we have to make sure that we are getting along, that we there's good communication, and that also that if there is a home issue, we're able to leave that at home, and put that aside. When we're at work, we focus on work, and then when we come home, we're able to leave that, right? And those things took time to learn, and they're skill sets that, we still work on today. It's not easy to turn things on and off like that, but it was definitely something that, in the next few months of that year, we had to teach ourselves to do. And but yeah, that was definitely a huge turning point for us, reading that book together, really understanding, like, Take the Stairs really just goes over. And our furnace just kicked on, guys, so I don't know if this is going to affect the audio or not, but so one of the things that the Take the Stairs goes over basically is that people try to, like, if they want to accomplish something, they go directly to the elevator, right? Instead of actually just taking the stair one step at a time. They're trying to skip steps, is basically what the book is about. And that did resonate with us, because we were like, okay, we left our jobs and we want to make these six-figure salaries, and are we really stepping back and taking every single step to get to that point? Are we really doing those things? No, we're not. We just want to get to the end goal. And I think that was an eye-opener for us in realizing that we were not doing everything we were supposed to do. And then we spent the next few months from there learning, well, what are we supposed to do? Yes. Right? What are some of the things that we should be doing every day? What are some of the things that, will help us
grow our business, get into the routines that we need to have in order to be successful. Yeah,
especially for people that are leaving jobs that are like a 9-to-5, or if you work for somebody else, because I do think that having your own business, it takes a different level of thick skin, of discipline, right, to be able to do it on a successful platform, right? I do think that you need to be disciplined, and you need to be okay with failing. You need to definitely be able to fall down and get back up again. And I don't
just look at every situation, even when you fail, look at it as an opportunity for you to learn and grow, right? And I think that's one of the things that we did very well, is whenever we encountered a situation that outcome wasn't quite what we were looking for, we sat back and we looked at, okay, what could I have done differently to have changed that situation, right? You just learn from it and you continue to grow on it. So that's part of taking the stairs, is you're building from one to the next, and you're learning as you go.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, this goes into mindset. And for me, this was difficult. Like, I did not have an entrepreneur mindset, right? I still say things like I do not have, so I'm still working on my mindset.
I'm glad you caught it though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I growing up, I never had the desire to have my own business. In fact, like, I'm Indian, that's my background, and a lot of Indian people own their own businesses. So I grew up seeing it, and I was like, I don't want to work like that. I actually don't want to do that, right? So I used to tell myself that all the time. All I want to do is work for somebody else and get a good salary. That's all I've ever really wanted. And to me, that was perfectly, a good, respectful way to live your life. And I kind of stumbled upon real estate. I honestly, I didn't grow up desiring this or wanting this in any sort of way. And I think Tyrone has a very different mindset. I think, like, for him, it was almost the opposite. It was kind of like
very much the opposite. All the people I knew worked for other people, right? And I was like, I saw how companies and corporations can just let you go at any given moment. So there's no such thing as job security. No matter how high up you climb up the chain. So my mindset was, at some point, I am going to own my own business, and then control my own destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that, for us at least, like, I could not do this without Tyrone, right? And I hate to say it that way, but
the same vice versa, and it's good because we complement each other in so many ways, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, so I think that's it for this video. We're hoping that we're bringing some value to anybody that's watching. And
if you have questions, by all means, definitely add them into the comment section so we can, answer them and address them. And, do us a favor and hit the like button and subscribe so that we can know exactly what content to bring out to you and just let you know what this industry really have in store for people who are, driven.
Yeah, and we are going to continue on and do some more videos on some of the lessons that we learned in those first few months, some of the things that, some of the things that we did that then finally helped us get into production versus some of the things that we wish we did sooner, and then some of the things that we did do that we shouldn't have done, things like that. So we'll have some videos coming in on that.
Yeah, great. So thanks once again. Hit the like button below and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.